Hey, what's going on, everybody? Right here, giving you some game on chapter 3 of this book. And this is for class through the MSW journey, helps me recap things that I'm writing, might help you understand the text better. I have a full copy of the book through school, but I'm scared to even show you guys this because nowadays somebody might call copyright. You never know what will happen. So I'm showing you this piece only, and I'm just breaking down chapter 3. And like I said, it helps me. And what I've been told is sometimes you can break things down simpler for people. Um, because there's the academic way, and then there's just making it straight, straight down to the point, let people know, hey, this is clear cut. And so, with further ado, if you are on the same journey or thinking about the journey or thinking, oh, is this journey right for me? I want you to listen, see if if you have a better way of me delivering this. Should I put a beat behind it? Should I straight rap it, V for Vendetta style? But, we're going to need more social workers in the future. And this is an AI proof profession. So, you know, we're breaking it down, simple language, and we're talking about chapter 3 and the helping processing. Excuse me. I don't know if it's allergies or whatnot, but the climate change has gotten to my nose, so bear with me. But this chapter is basically the roadmap for how social workers work with people from first hello to the final goodbye. And let me say this early because this is where a lot of people get it twisted. Social work is not just about caring, it's not just about giving advice or giving services. It has phases, it has timing. And if you rush it, you skip steps or try to force people before trust is built, you can mess the whole thing up. Now, one reason that this chapter stood out to me is because even though this is part of my MSW journey, this work is not foreign to me. I've done this for about 8 years prior, and this going back and getting an MSW is like a second career lane to me in an academic sense, but not a second language in real life. A lot of what social work is calling the helping process, I've already seen pieces of in real settings, especially in work involving youth, mental health, substance abuse, and family systems. So, when I read this chapter, I do not just see school language, I see lived practice. I see why some people open up and why some people shut down. And if I go a step further, my business background also helps me understand this chapter in a different way because public relations people and managers, business managers, often do this part very well, especially the relationship side. Because whether you're helping a client manage talent, handling a crisis, or if you're guiding a team, you cannot move people well if you do not know how to build trust and how to get people to understand things, especially if it's their first time doing it. Um, so that readiness you got to have down and understand what matters and why. That's relationship work. And most people in the PR and the managing side of thing, no matter their schooling, do a good job of that. Now I said bear with me, so ah, huh. And social work, it adds ethics, assessments, intervention. There's a clinical responsibility, but the relationship piece is the engine. If you want to like put it down to like cars, whatnot, that's the engine. So let's break this chapter down. The textbook says helping process has 3 big phases. And don't let that lose you because sometimes people say, oh man, you're giving me too much. But phase 1 is the exploration phase inside your engagement, your assessment, and your planning. All that is part of phase 1. Okay. So EEAP, remember it like that and break it down, especially if you're dyslexic, like myself, and you need to break things down and you need to do them over and over in your head so you can make it make sense to you. Then phase 2 is the implementation. And goal uh, attainment, excuse me. And yes, I know I could have AI do this if I wanted to, but I actually like giving it to you as a real human with all the flaws, coughing, and everything. Raspy voice, all that, right? So remember that IGA, break these things down so you can remember it. That means stage 3 is evaluation and termination. That's when you get to say your goodbyes, get to close the case after evaluate. But you can't do that before you do 2 and 1. That means good social work is not random. It moves in order. You do not just meet somebody and start telling them what to do. Not in your business life, not in your social life, not even with your kids. You do not just want to hear one problem and jump straight to a treatment plan. You don't do that with anybody. You do not just get tired of the case and, disappear at the end because you think, well, I've heard this before. It's a process. Even if you're dating, it's a process. Don't try to just fix somebody. The first phase is where the relationship gets built and where the worker starts understanding what is really going on. This includes exploring the presenting problem, engaging the client, assessing the situation, and coming up with a plan together. A lot of times you can ask open ended questions, and you can ask enough questions where the client thinks that they came up with it by themselves. And that's where the magic really happens because now you're empowering them. The second phase is where the plan gets put into action. Excuse me. This is where the work phase, you are putting it into action with interventions, you're monitoring the process and adjusting when needed. Now, the third phase is where you evaluate what happened and bring the relationship to a close in a healthy and intentional way. That means you do not just ghost people. A lot of you like to do that nowadays. You do not pretend endings do not matter. They do, even in your movies and shows. You help the client understand what changed, what still needs work, and what comes next. And if they don't change, what comes with that? And let's really break these concepts down. The helping process. Academically, it's a structured sequence of phrases through which social workers guide clients from initial contact through termination. What that means in your real life is there is a roadmap. You do not just help people off vibes. You're not just that much of an empath. You start somewhere, you build something, you work the plan, and then you close it out the right way. If you skip the roadmap, don't act surprised when the whole thing falls apart. Rapport is a major word in this chapter and in your life. What is your rapport? Academically, rapport is just, a good word, trusting relationship between the client and the social worker, characterizing that you have empathy and respect and a genuine concern. But let's make it real plain. Rapport is when the person sitting across from you feels safe enough to stop performing and start telling the truth. Without that, you are not getting the real story. You are getting edited answers, survival answers, and polished answers that if this person has been through the system, they already know how to answer. That is not the same as the truth. And this is where I like to connect with the chapter deeply because in practice, whether you are dealing with youth, clients in a crisis, families, or even people in business, you cannot force real disclosure. People tell the truth when they believe the relationship can hold the truth. That is why rapport, not fluff, it's not being nice for no reason. It's strategic, being direct, being ethical, and always, when necessary, being helpful in your response. You don't always have to say the first thing that's on your mind. In everyday language, this is what they say they came for. But hear me clearly. What they came in saying and what is actually going on are not always the same thing. The presenting the problem is the front door, but it's not the whole house. You dig? That matters because if you're immature as a practitioner, you will treat the first thing the client says like it's the whole case. But people often come in with the safe issue first. They test you with the smaller issue before they hand you the deeper one. People even do this with their doctors, and I don't know why. And they'll tell them half the problem, then go deeper and say, hey, actually my real issue is this, and then you find out, oh wait, hold on, this could be something totally different. But this is the assessment part. And when you assess things, assessment is the process of evaluating the issue across emotional, behavior, environmental, relational, and practical dimensions, so the worker can understand what is actually happening. Now, again, I'm just going to break it down to you, for the in layman's terms, that the assessment means you do not just hear the story, you study the story. You look at patterns, context, people involved, their strengths, risk, barriers, and what this person is actually ready for. Because if somebody's getting abused at the house, but they feel that's their only place to live, they're going to give you a totally different answer. It's like having a gun pointed to somebody's head and saying, hey, tell me the truth. You know, but as a social worker, we're not there to be impressed by their emotion. We're there to understand the situation enough to respond responsibly. And if you were in like a hostage situation, you'd have to be cooler than a cucumber and understand that anything can pop off and really assess. And that's how I like to assess things, like it's life and death, because it could be somebody's life or death, or if they're going to be, housed or on the street. This is where a lot of people, even outside social work, make mistakes because they confuse sympathy with assessment. They hear something painful and rush to fix it. Men do this a lot too. But chapter 3 is teaching discipline. Slow down, listen, explore, assess the plan. A lot of times, men and women don't want you to fix a problem. They just want us to listen, and I'm just trying to translate this down and broken down, that stop trying to drag people to where you want them to be. But before they even trust you, most people, they need to know where you are, and you need to know where they're at, not where your ego wants them to be. If they are confused, start there. If they are defensive, start there. If they are not ready, pretending they are ready does not help them. And don't skip a step, because it doesn't help anybody. This is one reason I say parts of public relation and management overlap well, because in business, the best managers know you cannot lead everyone the same way. You have to read the room, understand motivation, know who needs directness, who needs support, who needs help and more time, and who needs clarity. In PR, if you don't understand perception, audience, emotion, and trust, you lose the message before it ever lands. Social work deepens that into ethical and clinical practice, but the relational intelligence absolutely carries over. And if you think that, just because you can fix the problem, and if that the client understands because they're shaking their head, yes, please, even if they better understand AI than you, please get them AI to help them understand what is going on and breaking it down to their language. Maybe English is their second language. Maybe the Queen's English is their second language. Break it down in a way, if it has to be on a second grade, if you got to use Ebonics, if you got to talk Texan, whatever you got to do, because as long as you're effective, I don't see the problem. That's why these tools that we have now with AI, and everyone's running around scared who doesn't understand AI, is saying, oh, this is going to replace us. No, it's going to make us better so we can reach more people. Hopefully, I'll be able to talk to anybody with any language because of the AI tools and just talking into a device. Now, I'm going to break down some more academics where the contract is mutual. And chapter 3 talks about, having a contract and why we need that. And it's called the service agreement. Okay. The contract is mutual. It's goal directed. It's an agreement. It's agreement Specifying the purpose, the goals, the roles, the methods, and the times of the helping relationship. I got to wrap this up because I got to pick up my child in a second. But the simple version is this is the working agreement that tells both sides what we are doing, why are we doing it, and what success is supposed to look like. If you don't have a contract, you'll probably be lost in the sauce with your client. It keeps the relationship from being vague, messy, and one sided, sets boundaries too. That matters because good intentions are not enough. If the client thinks you're helping with one thing and you think you're solving another issue, you already have a problem. The contract brings clarity. It says, this is the goal, this is my role, this is your role, this is the method, and this is the timeline. Then comes phase two, the implementation and goal attainment. This is where the actual plan gets executed. You are applying interventions, checking your progress, making adjustments. You can make adjustments, it's okay. And helping the client move towards the goals. In plain language, this is where the talking has to start turning into movement. This is not the phase for sounding smart. This is the phase for doing what works. And if what you plan is not working, you adjust. You do not marry a bad plan just because it looked good on paper, you dig? That's a problem with a lot of people in marriage. You want people to stay the same and they're trying to improve and gain. But that part matters in both social work and in business. In business, strategy without execution is a fantasy. A lot of folks in business have this fantasy how they're going to work with a client. Then they get into the thick of things and say, oh, that wasn't it. In business strategy, you have to be able to adjust. In social work, assessment without an intervention is delay. At some point, the work has to move. Then you go into phase three. You do your evaluation, your termination. Evaluation means determining whether goals have been met and whether the interventions were effective. And that means, pardon me, that means you stop and ask, did this actually help? What changed? What stayed the same? What still needs attention? Did we move the needle or just have a lot of meetings? And termination academically is the final phase of the helping process in which services are concluded, progress is evaluated, and clients are prepared for independence. In real talk, termination is the planned ending, not abandonment, not ghosting, not acting like endings did not hit people emotionally. A healthy ending says, this is what we did, this is what you learned, this is what comes next, and this is how you keep moving without me. This is important because endings can stir up a lot. For some clients, endings trigger fear, rejection, loss, or old wounds, abandonment. For some workers, endings can trigger over-attachment, guilt, or avoidance. Chapter 3 is teaching that termination is part of the work, not an afterthought. And that brings me back to one of the smartest lessons in the chapter about rapport. Before assessment and no trust, no truth. That line is heavy because if there is no trust, the client may still talk, but they are not going deep. If there is no trust, they may tell you what sounds acceptable. Again, they've probably been here before. If there is no trust, they may protect themselves instead of opening up. If there is no trust, your intervention may be built on incomplete information. And that's key. If you don't, it's like a foundation. Miss a foundation in a house and wait for that thing to fall down during a hurricane or earthquake. That is why phase one is not some little intro section. It is the foundation. You cannot skip the relationship and jump straight to fixing things. That is how you lose the client. That is how you misread the problem. That is how you end up building a plan on top of a lie or a half truth or a fear response. Now let's make this practical. Say you are in a substance abuse work. A client comes in and says, I just need to stop drinking. That may be presenting the problem, but if you slow down and do the work, you may find grief, shame, trauma, domestic stress, molestation, job instability, depression, or family breakdown under the surface. If you jump straight to, here is the treatment plan, you may miss the whole real drivers. Same in family work. A parent might say, my child does not listen. But if you explore, engage, assess, and plan correctly, you might find school issues, anxiety, inconsistent parenting, house stress, molestation, divorce, pain, or other behavioral needs. I keep saying molestation because we need to watch our kids better, and even more because we got too many creepers walking around. And I want you guys to watch everything they do, put trackers on everybody, and listening devices on everybody. This is why chapter 3 matters. It teaches you not to be shallow, and that is why I say this chapter connects with my background in business. I have worked in communication, I have worked in management and relationship driven environments where reading people, building trust, setting expectations, and moving toward outcomes matter every day, every moment. So every social work is adding a stronger ethical framework, clinical discipline, and service centered responsibility. I can see clearly why these relationships and principles are so powerful. This is not me stepping into something totally foreign. This is me resharpening and getting some more language, getting some more ways, and looking at these things in a different lens on how to help clients in both factors. I plan on opening up and spreading to have another $1 million business, and I want to do it right, and I want to do it global. And let me break down the test logic, because this chapter has that licensure language that, again, I'm practicing right now for the language of the LCSW, because that's key to me. And as a dyslexic, I got to start early. If a question asks about like the first session, work, engagement, rapport, or understanding the issue, you're probably in phase 1. If a question is about carrying out a plan, using interventions, or tracking progress, that's phase 2. If a question asks whether goals were met, what the workers should review at the end, or how to end, what phase do you think? I'm going to let you guys say it. I'm going to be quiet for a minute while I blow my nose. You're right, phase 3. So part of mastering this chapter is not just memorizing words, it is learning to identify where you are in the process. Let me hit the memory tricks. 3 phases. Think EIT: exploration, implementation, and termination. Contract elements. Think goals, roles, methods, timeframes, and expectations. And maybe the biggest practical rule of all: no trust, no truth. That one applies in clinical work, leadership, business, ministry, parenting, marriage, and the rest of your life. So if I had to sum it up, chapter 3 in a way the masses can carry with them, it would be this: social work is a relationship centered process. You build trust first, you understand the problem next, you create the plan together. Remember that. You do the work, you check the results, you end with intention. Do not rush people, do not force fake progress, do not confess talking with helping. Oh man. You guys, do not confuse talking with helping, please. And do not act like the ending does not matter. Respect the process, because the process is what protects the person. That's chapter 3 broken down in the best that I can do right now with a sniffly nose. Excuse me for any mispronounced words or coughed over sniffling words. If you're following this journey with me, understand this: I'm not just learning this as theory, I'm building on lived experience, business experience, and now formal MSW training to connect the classroom to the real world. Because at the end of the day, if the people cannot understand what we are learning, then we have not finished the job. I'll catch you guys up on the next one. Do me a favor, comment if you want more stuff like this. If you want me to go deeper on some stuff. As I learn, I'd like you to learn. As you learn, I'd like us all to learn. And I'd like to know if this is helpful at all, or if I'm just rambling, because I have so many other things I could be doing in my different businesses, that I'm doing this in hopes that I can motivate somebody to say, hey, social work is something that I see as manly, somebody like me is doing, and there's people like me and others who need that help. So if you bear with me, y'all, and I could go fully blow my nose and not have a runny nose on this thing, hopefully I can show you my image on here. But if I'm sniffling too much, I don't want to gross anyone out and be the garbage pail kids. You guys, comment, like, and subscribe. But most importantly, y'all, share this game with somebody. I truly mean it to be helpful for all. Be blessed.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit CPRFIRM.com, that's ColemanPRFIRM.com, and MillionaireX.ai. Then download the Millionaire X app, your AI powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business, it's different.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt? Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Hello everyone! Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature and traditions from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Enjoy the Cameroonian food, music and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores near Ingram's Park. Don't miss this adventure.